first thing you'll do after signing up for your first marathon, after maybe having a slight panic, is figure out your training. And the only thing scarier than realising that come the end of it you'll be running 26.2 miles is knowing that you'll have to reach nearly that distance at least once during training.
I'm Kate, and today along with Anna we're going to be talking about how far you actually need to run in order to train for a marathon. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the running channel and tap the bell icon if you want to be notified when we upload new videos, which we do every week.
In this video we're talking about your long runs, but we can't dive in straight away without saying that you need to be sensible in your build up to them. Don't come late to your preparation and then try and suddenly hit some long runs out of nowhere.
To get the maximum benefit and to minimise your risk of injury, to recover properly, you need to be following a sensible, structured training plan. And with that you'll see a gradual increase of mileage, both in terms of your overall training and also your weekly long run.
There are a few different schools of thought when it comes to how long your longest run should be when you're training for a marathon. And before we dive into looking into what those are, it's important to recognise that actually spending time on your feet can be just as important as focusing on the actual mileage that you're doing in the long runs.
That's right, and after all there's a big difference between an elite marathon runner going out and running 24 miles in training, which might only take them about 2.5 hours, and a novice marathon runner who's looking to break, say, 5 hours, and for them 24 miles might take 4.5 hours.
The thing with long runs being long is that it's going to take you a long time to recover afterwards, so you don't want to dig yourself so deep in training that you then don't give yourself enough time to recover ready for race day. And the thing with not being able to recover is that can lead to fatigue and also a poor performance come race day. So you need to make sure that you're not going out too long in the long runs so that you give your body time to recover.
That's right, so if your training plan's upper limit is, say, 3 hours and 15 minutes for your long run, then stick to that regardless of what mileage you've actually reached in that time. That's going to give you a really good run in the bank come race day without risking pushing you over the edge.
So bearing in mind what we've just said about an upper limit, let's have a look at what some of the traditional marathon plans say when it comes to running your long runs and the things that we should take into consideration when approaching it too.
So there's several different approaches. For example, there's the Hanson marathon plan. Now that takes the approach that you're running 6, maybe more runs a week with a pretty high overall mileage, but your longest run is only 16 miles.
And this works on the principle that you're already running on tired legs, so the term is cumulative fatigue. Now, this plan isn't for everyone. It's one that I used training for one of my marathons and did find that running that often and the higher overall mileage does take up a lot of extra time, so that's something to bear in mind as well.
Now, if you're paying a coach to set your training plan, then that should be tailored to your individual needs. But a lot of the good online plans look towards a long run of something around 20 miles. Now, a lot of coaches do now agree that pushing much beyond 20 miles isn't really going to bring you any benefits and might actually bring drawbacks in terms of increased injury risk and a longer recovery time.
Another thing that these plans also agree on is that the long run is just one component of your training and should run alongside things like interval training and tempo runs and even some easier running as well. Your entire training for a marathon shouldn't be solely focused just on your long run.
But if you're really interested in a PB, don't forget to check out our video on that.
While you're building up your long runs, the temptation is to go out there and just get it done and know that you can cover the distance or hit a certain mileage in a certain time. But another thing to think about on your long runs, especially if you have a goal target time in mind for your marathon, is hitting marathon pace.
Absolutely, and it's really important to get an idea of what that target pace really feels like. And doing it in your long runs can really have a big training benefit, but it can also actually help break up those long runs and get through them a little bit easier.
So think about trying out your marathon pace during some of your longer runs. So you could maybe look at doing 4 lots of 15 to 20 minutes at marathon pace with 5 minutes of easy running recovery in between. Or you could also have a go at alternating your kilometres during your long run, so doing a kilometre at marathon pace and then a kilometre at easy pace for 10 to 20 kilometres of your long run.
Another thing that you can do is look to hit that marathon goal pace towards the very end of your long runs. You could do this as a kind of progression run where you start very slowly and build up through hitting marathon pace right at the end. Nice thing about that is as soon as you've got to that marathon pace and done a bit of work there, you can stop.
So we mentioned building up sensibly, but what you don't want to be doing is running too far, too close to race day, because you'll go into race day having tired legs then. The most common advice is to run your longest run around 3 to 4 weeks from race day.
That's right, and it's really important not to be tempted to bring that long run closer to race day just because you had to miss some training through illness or through a niggle. You're going to compromise your ability to recover. After all, the taper is there for a really good reason.
So we've talked about the distance and the time that you should be covering on your long runs. So let's have a little look at some of the other things that you should be considering when going on long runs as well.
So one of the most important things that you need to get right and to practice well ahead of race day is your hydration and nutrition strategy. Now do check out our video on the running channel on how to fuel your long runs for loads more information on that. But the most important thing is to really respect the distance and work out how you're going to get that hydration, nutrition, that energy and water that you're going to need.
So maybe if your long run is loops, you could stash your water or your gels or something in a bush and then go back and do another loop, for example. Or work out how you're going to carry this stuff on you, because after all, if that's what you're going to be doing on race day, then you can use these long runs as a proper dress rehearsal for that.
It's also a really good idea to try out the kit that you're going to wear on race day, just to make sure on those long runs that it stays really comfortable, it doesn't chafe anywhere, you can get into the pockets to get those gels out.
And once you've banked your longest run, of course you are going to still need to carry on training up until race day, but make sure that you use that time to focus on recovery, making sure that you are raring to go on the start line and use the taper to your advantage. And for more information on what the taper is and how to do it properly, check out our video on the running channel.
Now we hope you found this useful, and don't forget to let us know how your training is going and what your targets are in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more great videos from the running channel, and we'll see you next time.